It's a long, long journey to the capital city. It's a long, long week while I'm sitting in committee. But I know I'll be a law someday. At least I hope and pray that I will. But today I am still just a bill.
Gee, Bill, you certainly have a lot of patience and courage.
Well, I got this far. When I started, I wasn't even a bill. I was just an idea. Some folks back home decided they wanted a law passed, so they called their local congressman, and he said, "You're right, there ought to be a law." Wrote me out and introduced me to Congress, and I became a bill. And I'll remain a bill until they decide to make me a law. I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill. And I got as far as Capitol Hill. Well, now I'm stuck in committee, and I sit here and wait while a few key congressmen discuss and debate whether they should let me be a law. I hope and pray that they will. But today I'm still just a bill.
Listen to those congressmen arguing. Is all that discussion and debate about you?
Yeah, I'm one of the bills never even made this far.
Hey, this is to the world. You got maniacs.
There it is.
Yeah, next after this. And then we'll get started.
Okay.
Okay.
It's audio speaking. Yeah.
Your turn is Sigma Frozen Max.
It's been 5 years. Let that damn movie go.
Oh,
Three is a magic number.
no, they go because I didn't know.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I tried to eat on mine one time and it just, there was no bill.
Somewhere in the ancient mystic trinity, you get three as a magic number. The past and the present and the future, faith and hope and charity, the heart and the brain and the body, is three as a magic number. It takes three legs to make a tripod, to make a table stand. It takes three wheels to make a vehicle called a tricycle. Every triangle has three corners, every triangle has three sides, no more, no less. You don't have to guess. When it's three, you can see it's a magic number. Man and woman, have a little baby. Yes, it is. There's not three in the family. That's a magic number. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30. Multiply backwards from 3 times 10. 3 times 10 is 30. 3 times 9 is 27. 3 times 8 is 24. 3 times 7 is 21. 3 times 6 is 18. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 2 is 6. And 3 times 1 is 3, of course. I think the pattern was 4. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30.
Okay, what Animaniacs? What Animaniacs?
Nations of the World, Animaniacs.
Nations of the World?
Yeah. That's for
Jurassic World.
Do you remember Historia? The Animaniacs? Like, it was in Animaniacs.
I remember the Pinky in the Rain moment, the Pinkiest and I but I don't remember the story.
Oh man, I hope it's.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, you actually love it.
Now, the nations of the world.
I don't think that map is completely accurate.
Oh, the Animaniacs.
United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama, Haiti, Jamaica, Peru.
I have a friend who memorized the entire song.
I used to play this game at work. If you go online, there's a game you can play where you have to name all 140 countries in like 10 minutes.
Wow.
You type them in.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
The fuck? They just wanted to
That is so
smash
long.
this song.
It's outdated at this point, obviously.
Dominican. I've never
It was
even
literally never come up.
Or
If anything, people just refer to the island as Espanol.
Jiminy Crickets.
Actually memorized it all.
I should watch it again. I bet if I watch this like 5 times, I
You
would
would get it. Like they did an interview with him like years later, and he was able to do the whole thing again.
And he updated it.
He did?
Yes.
That's funny. I think, yeah.
Yeah.
It's-
Because I could always name like about 90 or 100 out of 140. So like I know like enough that I could probably remember the rest. Djibouti, Botswana, Mozambique, Zambia, Swaziland,
Nigeria, Chad, Liberia, Egypt, Anita, Gabon, Tanzania, Somalia, Kenya, and Mali, Sierra Leone, and Algeria, Dahomey, Namibia, Senegal, Libya, Cameroon, Gabon, Zaire, Ethiopia, Guinea, Bissau, Madagascar,
I don't know how you memorize that song.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's all of them.
yeah, they knew he was like insane.
Okay. I hope you guys took notes. We'll be on the test.
Yeah, now I know what white people think our country's called.
It was for the song, so it would rhyme. Don't take it so personal.
What did they say?
Republic
Dominican. Do you guys know that the 50 States song? 50 Nifty?
No.
50 Nifty United States.
Oh, that's a very
Oh my God, we're gonna have to play this one too.
No.
Did they just say scalpel?
Wait, what?
I think we're really out of scope.
No, we're not.
Yeah, this kind of is out of scope.
We're using block scope, we're fine.
Music for a child's heart, body, and mind.
Wait, is this it, Matt?
50 states from the multi-award
Oh,
winner.
50.
50 Nifty, it was right there on the right.
Oh,
Actually, when you were.
sorry. 50.
I might have to step out.
50 Nifty.
United States, 13 original colonies. 50 nifty.
Can we do the wax on thing instead? That's a better variation.
Wait, what?
Top right corner.
Yeah.
Contributes a quality that is great. Each individual state deserves a bow. We salute them now. 50 nifty United States
Yeah.
from 13 original colonies. Shout 'em, scout 'em, tell all about 'em. One by one till we're giving that day to every state in the USA. Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana,
Yeah, that's
Texas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana,
Okay, I think we all know this story.
Nevada,
Is Nebraska your favorite, Madison?
New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio.
Okay, I think we're good.
Yeah. All that reminds me is back in kindergarten when they forced you to sing the stupid song.
Do you guys know that periodic table song by that one guy that goes really fast?
Oh, that one guy that goes
No, but we're gonna change this.
Oh, that is so cool.
This is awesome. Maybe this is all we should have done the whole course. Like not even learned web development. Why don't you do that?
There are, I'm pretty sure there are some kids that are just like.
Why don't, wait, can we, yeah, I want to look into this now.
I'm gonna write them. That's what I'm gonna
Write
do.
songs to learn code.
Yes,
Yeah,
code,
just send you the
coding
cutest
songs.
thing.
Look at it like a
It's
JavaScript song or something.
Yeah. Let's see if there is one. I'm sure there is JavaScript. So,
Damn, so it's the big round already.
what are you doing?
Daily double.
These are much better.
Wacko.
I know, she didn't make habichuelas con.
JavaScript rock,
Oh, my
Java
goodness.
life,
Oh my god.
ode
Which
to
one has more
JavaScript.
Damn, 1.5 million.
Oh,
people?
Code School. Yeah, Code School makes songs for every like tutorial they do. They make a song.
For a talent show?
I think it's like a meetup.
Yeah, he said Hack Reactors talent show.
Clojures. There's one of the many features of JavaScript that's super useful for sweet stuff. I mean, just think about the fact that we retain access to those app functions, right? So you don't have to Clojure returns. Bottom basic equals function parens, open curly brackets, undefined dollar, open parens, sweet, close parens. Undefined curly brackets, semicolon, parens.
Look at the one that had 1.5 million.
Wait,
which one? Go back.
Wait, but have you guys seen the
The third
Warriors of the Net video?
I have no idea. I mean, that one hasn't been released, so I'm assuming it must be good.
Yeah, it's Java, not JavaScript. What did you say,
Have you
Lauren?
guys seen the Warriors of the Net video?
No.
It's like this weird little animation that explains like transfer protocol and all this stuff. And it's like
Really? Cool. I'll put that up next.
Wait, what? You clicked on the same one.
No. The other one was JavaScript.
Clojures.
Oh, wait.
There's one of the many features of JavaScript that's super
No,
useful
see, that's not
for
right.
stuff.
I wonder if YouTube messed up.
Yeah, maybe.
It's like loading the wrong video.
Yeah,
Oh, there it is. Yeah, it was. That's so weird.
that is weird.
In Oracle production.
Yeah, that's
oh my god.
Wow.
I can tell how
In the cubicles, representing for my
Yeah, there's a whole genre of nerd rap. It's called nerdcore rap.
I win the headlines. Shake it.
Like
Come
Rising
on,
Eye.
these cubicles.
Yeah.
Styles nerd chic. I'm a programming freak. We code hard in these cubicles. On the 2 hours, so your deadline goes for my technique. Sipping morning coffee with that Java swirl. Pouring cold my first words were hello world. Code and stay proud. Started on floppy disk, now we'll take it to the cloud. On my desktop, Java's what's bobbing and weaving. And got another winning app before I get to I. Blazing cold like a forest fire, climbing a tree. Setting standards like IEEE. Put it on up, I use the force like glue. Got so much love from my homeboy Duke. GNU public license, it's open source. Step on my desk when you need a crash course. Runs anywhere. Mugging in my ears. All the best lines of code, you know I wrote them. I'll run you out of town on your dial-up modem. Cause we code hard in these cubicles. Me and my crew code high-speed hardcore. We code hard in these cubicles. It's been more than 10 years since I seen it for a board. Inheriting a project can make me go berserk. Ain't got 4 hours to
It's old. I mean, you could tell, like, it's not like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's old.
This is like Office Space era, not Silicon Valley era.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we get it.
Yeah.
Okay. Clojure web applications.
Oh, it's 2011. Not bad. Oh, that's great.
Well, yeah, I mean, for computers, yeah. I mean, the culture has changed a lot. If you've seen Office Space, it was like Office Space, like in 2008 when I first started. Now it's like Silicon Valley. People don't wear like those weird khaki pants nerd outfits to work anymore. They just wear like regular clothes.
Oh, I know. Some people. I think I'm gonna wear stuff like that.
Are you really nice? You should do it.
I want to fit the party. But the director of IT at my last company literally told me he just like rotates the 3 same shirts. Okay, then.
Really? I mean, that's pretty much all I've done all semester. except for today. Today's a special day.
Yeah, today's special.
Yeah, I don't know how people do it who have to like actually get their shirts dry cleaned every week. That must be such a...
I've been meaning to get this one shirt dry cleaned for a few months now. I just keep forgetting.
What happened to my link? What is it doing? It's being weird.
The site is smart, something. I see your faces right now.
Okay, everyone. So I'm gonna. Okay, here's the Code School Node.js song.
Well, given this, you've got more and straight to the point.
Use the real-time web with Node.
I'm gonna miss our Saturdays, kids. We got 3 to go.
Yeah.
No more Saturdays.
Yeah, I saw they just made a goal. Like,
Wait, who beat South Korea?
2-0, Mexico.
Mexico. Oh man, people are going crazy probably.
No, it's still on.
What are like the biggest places people go to watch soccer? In many- No, I mean like, you know, bars and stuff. Yeah.
Oh.
go to any Brazilian bar.
For Mexico?
Yard House should have it.
Oh yeah, Yard House.
No, it shouldn't have been Buffalo Wild Wings.
Anything on Main Street, basically.
Yeah, anything in Brickell. They're probably gonna be going crazy in Brickell.
Like the seismic activity after
Yes.
like a team won. So, like,
Yeah, it was
so many
Mexico.
people-
After Mexico won,
Right?
the seismic activity, like, actually.
Like they detected it. That's crazy.
That is pretty funny.
They caused an earthquake in Mexico.
I'm not
Argentina, I
I'm
don't know.
Argentina's kind of like a dirt team.
Kind of.
Watch your mouth.
Kind of.
I'm sorry.
You're not
I'm
sorry.
not sorry. I'm not.
Peru out.
I think they lost
They
the
lost.
but I haven't been following too closely.
They lost to France. I'm pretty sure.
Was it?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you're
Oh,
right.
apparently everyone
And
I
then
know
it
has been
was,
streaming it at work.
yeah, we have one to be over. And then it was Switzerland and Nigeria, and Switzerland won.
Was that the 3-0 game?
No, that was Nigeria scored a goal and everybody was like, oh, like Switzerland probably doesn't stand a chance now. And then they scored, but they tied and they scored again.
Oh, so it's 2-1.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I could have sworn it was a game that was 3-0. Jackie, did you watch the video I sent you?
Oh, no, I haven't.
Super cute.
If anybody has like 10 minutes in their lifetime to watch that Warriors of the Net video I sent, it's ridiculous and really entertaining.
Okay, we can watch that in class.
It's kind of long. We have to watch it in here. Just like
Okay.
what is the
Where did you select that out?
It explains like Kemper protocol and stuff, and it's like a really ridiculous
What is it
old
called?
animation. I put it on here.
Oh, okay.
Where did you select that to?
She
To
watched
the
it to Tuesday, Thursday class.
Oh, I see.
It's like really funny and weird.
Moppy, this is adorable.
Oh, I've seen this
You
one.
see-
I've
you
seen
see-
the
and
whole
it's like-
thing.
And this
Yes.
goes here and this goes
Yes.
here. It's super weird.
Oh my God, yes,
To
I've
explain
seen
like,
that.
and then it's like the firewall explains like how the
Yeah,
firewall
it's a
works.
huge one. Yeah,
It's so random.
yeah, and I've seen.
It's
the
like
whole
a
thing.
huge wall of fire.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
inside thing.
Yeah.
Wow. Pretty informative.
Where is it, honey?
Above Melvin's post.
Hysteria?
No, I posted like 3 things. That's the last thing I posted.
Did you find it?
No, Lauren.
Here, I'll do this. Come on.
My face is mine?
Yeah. Hold on.
Warriors of the Net.
I resent it.
Oh, okay.
snap.
You guys have to help me with the Cavalier. I'd love to take him out, but he's not having it.
Oh,
He's
man.
like, "What are you doing? Why are you lying down? Get up, human. I need to be entertained."
Yeah, I don't.
Anybody want a
Is it
Cavalier?
because he's just so used to seeing you at home now that he just wants more
Oh no,
attention?
he wants me to go back to work so he can do his daycare.
Is he at home with you now?
No, he's with my mother. Yeah.
Oh, he was at daycare before?
Oh yeah, my boy used to go to daycare every day. That's why he's like, "Get up, that."
He's like, I want to social.
Yeah, I want my friend.
Okay, so here's our lean rep.
So yours is working then?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got it working. So what do you guys want to do? Do you want to do API stuff in Clojure, or do you want to do React stuff in Clojure? I think the React stuff is kind of more fun.
React stuff inside of Clojure?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to take a look at ohm.next. If you guys all want to look it up, ohm.next, and get to the GitHub page. Sorry, let me just disconnect. Oh, yeah, it won't. Who's trying to get to ohm.next, the actual URL, which doesn't exist. So you guys can just go to this, the ohm.next quick start guide, and it will tell you about ohm.next. Ohm.next is a uniform yet extensible approach to building a networked interactive applications. By providing a structured discipline over the management of application state, ohm.next narrows the scope of identical complexity and often found in user interface development. So what do we mean when we talk about identical complexity? Identical complexity, that means the many ways to skin a cat that we've been talking about. Like in jQuery, we can do things, we can make a template by making the parent node, and then you just append things to it, or you can put all the HTML inside the $sign. Ohm.next right up here.
No, but I'm on the same page. Yeah.
Narrows the scope of incidental complexity. Incidental, not identical. Incidental complexity.
But incidental complexity is still those many ways, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So so we've run into added complexity when we don't expect it to be there. Basically. So it's just talking about how it uses Facebook's Relay or Netflix Falcor. It also borrows ideas from Datomic, which is Cognitect, the company that makes Clojure's own database, which is based on the idea of immutability, which is a big up-and-coming sort of concept in JavaScript. You've heard about it, right, Jackie? So Clojure sort of pioneered this idea of immutability. Basically, Rich Hickey brought it about. He said, hey, this idea of basically space addresses in computers is kind of antiquated. We designed it so that when you declare a variable or you declare a value, you're going to have a space address somewhere on a physical hard drive, and then anytime the value gets changed, you go to that address, you update the thing, and then it gets updated. So what Rich Hickey, the inventor of Clojure, says is that we did this basically because a long time ago we had very limited space on our computers. We had hard drives that were like 40 megs or 20 megs or something, so you needed to have that physical space. So we needed to have the addresses and reuse it. Today, that's just not the case. We have enough space freely available to us that it makes more sense to just keep using new space every time and not reuse space. So he believes that basically all values should be immutable. You use it once you're done with it, you're done with it, you throw it away. That memory gets used somewhere else later, but we don't have to keep thinking about making it reusable because we have enough resources available that it's kind of a non-issue at this point. Maybe 20 years ago, we would need that physical space and have to address it and stuff, but now it's just not necessary. So this is a big thing that you guys will probably hear more and more about as you keep going, reading about React and all of the new up and coming stuff. Immutability, you'll hear more and more about. There's a library for JavaScript called Immutable.js. Have you read about that, Jackie?
Yes, I don't know.
Okay.
I logged in. came across it here and there. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's something that you'll come across and hear more about as you keep going. This is where it comes from, Clojure. So basically, it's designed to be immutable, which adds a lot of beneficial properties to your app. So setting it up, we're going to use Leiningen, which is just the task runner that we've seen. It's sort of a lot like Clojure's version of NPM, basically. Then Figwheel is something that allows us to automatically see the changes that we make in our code updated in our app, kind of like Create React app does for us. So anytime we save some changes to our code, it automatically goes and refreshes the browser for us and shows us our changes. We're using a traditional REPL. So let's just go ahead and follow the instructions they give us to get started. We could check out the whole repo, but let's just do it like they're telling us to do it and make it fun. So Control-C, Control-C, Control-D. So you guys can follow along with me if you'd like.
Will we be running as the administrator for this one, or?
Yeah, pretty much everything you do on Windows, you might as well run as the administrator. Or get Cygwin, and then you can use sudo. Oh, and then the text editor that you're going to want for Clojure is called Lighttable. Yeah, I did select that out. So let me install that now, actually. Or maybe I have it here. Dark table, that's nonsense. Were you guys able to find it, Lighttable? If you're interested in installing it, you don't have to, but. Everyone find it? It's actually based on Atom, same as VS Code. It's just a different way of doing things. Most.
If you have Atom installed, can you just add it as a package on your Atom?
Yes, I believe it is available as an Atom package.
But going from Sublime Text to Atom is borderline like life-changing for me.
You like Atom better?
Oh my god, it was so much better.
I mean,
for me,
yeah.
I know it's like a preference thing, but
yeah, some people like the extra structure, the extra feature. I can see for you. So we need to install a PPA. Oh, MongoDB, you always take forever. I don't know why that one MongoDB repo always has to be saved. Isn't there a way I can just skip it? So while we're doing this, let's go back. So this is what we're going to basically do. This ohm.next is a lot like Create React App in that it packages together all the stuff that we need for a React app, like Redux, like React, all of the little tools and stuff it puts together for us into one nice package. So we don't have to really get in the weeds with installing all the packages that we need for React. So this def project basically does that. It's like doing the Create React app in it. We're going to call our project ohm tutorial. We could, of course, call it anything we want. We're going to give it this o.o.1 snapshot. We can give it whatever version name we want. The snapshot thing comes from the Java world, from the package manager called Maven or MVN, which is used in Java a lot. Clojure has its own way of managing dependencies and packages, which it does with Clojure files, but it's based on the system Maven for Java. So Maven has what are called project object model files or POM files, which are XML files that have all of the dependencies for the project, kind of like our package.json. Clojure has just like a wrapper around that, basically. So this just pulls in all the dependencies. We're going to need Clojure script. We're going to give it what version of Clojure we want and Clojure script we want. Very similar to the way we do in our package.json file in our Express projects. Then we're going to tell it which version of ohm we want. Ohm is the basic wrapper for React for Clojure. Then we also need stateful inheritance and stuff like that. So ohm.next basically does what Redux does. It gives us stateful state. And then Figwheel basically just reloads the project when we save it so that we don't have to keep reloading it and rebuilding it and all of that. Let's see if light table is good.
Is that like a React router?
What?
Figwheel?
No, it's not like a router. You guys are using something similar. Do you know what the specific piece is that does it? NodeMon is what reloads it. That's the watch thing. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it's like NodeMon then.
Okay.
I thought NodeMon was like Forever.js where it keeps it running. No, I guess it's like the watch thing. It used to just be called npm watch, but then I guess they made it into NodeMon. Support sea creature is an iceberg. Okay. Fulton is the new meme. Yeah, Fulton does do well with memes.
Where's his memes?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. He's slacking today. Slacking. Sorry, everyone. %, 72. Stop it.
You see that?
Yeah, I did. Thought you were a sniper for a second.
Oh my God.
Okay. Now, this is the trick. Light table. Yay. Okay, did everyone get light table installed at once? Light table? It's actually pretty good for JavaScript too. It will let you evaluate JavaScript in line by line, so you don't have to like go to the console to check and see if something works. You can actually do it from your file. It'll run your JavaScript code inside the editor itself and then tell you like where there's an error or tell you what the value of things are. And we can look at this in a second. So it's going to tell me there's a newer version, but when I try to do this on Ubuntu, it doesn't work. So just to show you guys how this amazing editor works, you can hit Control Enter, I think, or Windows Enter to start the REPL. Or like, so say I type some Clojure, say I do +11, this line of Clojure, now I want to evaluate it. Maybe I have to save it.
Are you looking at Ubuntu?
Sort of. It's Mint Linux. It's similar to Ubuntu. Minty. Okay, let's see if it'll let me do this now. Okay, yeah, I just had to save it with the CLJ extension. Now it's starting up its internal REPL. And now it will be able to evaluate the Clojure code for me as well as JavaScript code for me in line. These little, yeah, these little dots at the bottom are telling me that it's starting up. So it's got to take a minute to start up. While it's doing that though, let's go ahead and just open a folder, to project, and we'll do it. Tutorial. Yeah, I guess because it's an older version, it's not. So we're going to make a new file. Let's see what it wants me to call the file. And you guys can feel free to follow along with me if you like. We're going to call this our project.clj. So every Clojure project pretty much gets a project.clj. This is a lot like our package.json in Node. So we're going to rename this, and this is going to be project.clj for Clojure. No, we're just going to copy paste our project definition that just has all of our dependencies as well as the name of the project, the description of the project, and the version of the project. Very, very similar to what we do with our package.json. Okay. So that's the first thing that it wants us to do. We just need our project.clj, a Leiningen project.clj. Remember, Leiningen is basically like the NPM for Clojure.
Sorry, look at Elliot's.
Elliot, are you posting?
What?
Are you making fun?
It does kind of look like she's got Madison's hair. Yes, this is.
Oh no, what if you love gingers? I love gingers.
I didn't think she was. You don't have freckles.
Oh, yeah, she's totally a ginger. Look at her.
Oh.
Hair-wise.
Well, not on your face anymore. Maybe when you were younger.
They're like covered with makeup.
Oh.
I have a freckle on my lip.
Okay. Nobody make any ginger jokes while Madison's around.
All gingers have freckles?
No, we don't.
Okay then, we didn't know you were ginger because of your hair.
Her hair is red.
Her hair's red. I mean, how did you miss that? Did you not notice her hair was red?
It doesn't, it just looks, it's red. It doesn't, like I know a ginger and like I could tell she's a ginger and Maddie doesn't.
What a weird word, ginger.
Ginger.
It's like think of ginger.
I don't understand why there's so much like animosity in the world towards redheads. Wait. Wow. Wait, these are your sisters?
Yep.
Wow. Nice. The red hair gene is strong apparently in your family.
Sure.
Whose side of the family does it come from? Huh. Interesting. Are you Scottish?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Wow. Now that we know too much about Madison, let us continue. Melvin. Okay. Okay. All right. Clojure. Not like a school closure or snow day or something like that. But almost as good. That's one of the reasons I like Clojure, I think, because it reminds me of snow days when I was a kid. And there would be school closures. All right, let's get back to our thing. Sorry, everyone. Yeah, I mean, this isn't like a make us or break us kind of a day. If it was something I thought we really had to get through, I'd be like pushing a little harder. But oh, here it is. Good. All right, so now we're gonna change the figwheel.clj. So we're gonna make a dir called script. Feel free to follow along with me, guys, because I know this is fascinating stuff. We're gonna make a directory called script by doing add folder here, and we are going to call it script, I think, without an S. Was anyone paying attention? Script without an S. Okay, so script without an S. I don't know what it's doing. Make directory, add folder. Oh, no, that's not what I need to do. All right, I'll just do it their way. Sorry, guys. mkdir script without an S. Touch script / figwheel.clj. Now, as we see, we have a script folder with a figwheel.clj. So now we're just going to add all of this stuff for a figwheel. This is basically Clojure's equivalent of NodeMon. As we said, this just loads in all of our changes into our browser, refreshes the browser for us, all that good stuff. Save this. Next, this file describes how to build your Clojure script project and starts a REPL. If you are new to Clojure Script, you may find this a bit overwhelming. If you would like to know more after this tutorial, you may want to work through the Clojure Script Quick Start to reinforce your fundamental Clojure Script concepts encountered in this tutorial. What was the message? Anything I need to know about?
Gingers do have souls.
Oh, they do. Okay, good. You had me worried there for a minute.
What in the world is that?
Never mind.
What? No, I'll just click on board, just click on the link.
Copy.
Okay. So next, we're going to make our markup directory, same as our regular React projects. We just start with a regular markup. Oh, man, now I want to read this.
We're not getting anywhere with this thing.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So does everyone believe, like, this thing works? All right, I want to see it now. Oh, my gosh, guys. What happened?
Jackie lost it. Jackie's gone.
Jackie, we lost Jackie. I knew it was a matter of time.
She's beyond the coop.
Yeah, I knew it was a matter of time. Jackie. Wow, I have no idea what you guys are laughing at. This was great.
You know how many times I had to click random until
That's why when I want to skim up. That's why when I want something specific, I go to my phone because my keyboard has a specific, like a part that lets you look at gifs.
Gingers have no souls. What is happening?
what's this?
Wait, that was it? That was it?
Oh, you clicked on one.
Oh, gingers do have
Yeah, you
souls.
gotta click on the dolphin. There we go. Look at that.
You can't stop watching it.
This is what you guys are laughing? This is what we all showed up here on a Saturday morning for?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know. I mean, so next. Clojure, great stuff. Will help you make you a better programmer. I don't know. We don't seem very committed to it right now, so it's yeah. I mean, it does basically the same thing as you can't get what to work, the lean. Leningen? Did you? What was the problem that I fixed for you? Oh, you need to install curl.
I did the WG thing, the wget. I did wget.
wget. Do curl too.
Oh,
Okay. I guess we're done. I guess I would like to talk to you guys about getting jobs and stuff. Since that's what we're all
You
here.
gonna hire everyone?
No, I'm not.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you should be a drug dealer for me.
Why did you say it like that?
I know.
Find you business.
What did you learn at the fucking?
Actually, it was a
Yeah,
number of
that's.
drug dealers there. Clients.
It's up Miami. They're not the Fountain Blue Ride.
Yeah, no, that's the. Wait, what did she say?
I just named it other than
Okay, so is there anybody who wants to get a job that isn't being a drug dealer at the fountain?
yeah, that's why I wanted to come here.
Oh,
Improve my career.
okay. So let's. I mean, yes, I know that was obvious, Madison. That's why I phrased it in that way, because I was phrasing it in such a way that it would be obvious. And then, okay, so let's talk about you, Madison. What are you doing to get jobs right now?
So like working on my online presence, making my LinkedIn better, and
Okay, cool.
portfolio.
Sounds good. Have you talked to any recruiters yet? Anyone found your resume, called you? No? Okay. Anyone who has talked to a recruiter had a problem talking to a recruiter? None of you guys have had recruiters calling you.
I
I
got
might. I
some
had
from
some random
recruiters.
phone numbers call my phone, but that might be telemarketers.
Yeah, there are a lot of the telemarketers out there now. So that's one problem. So, okay, so I'll talk to you guys a little bit about how I got started, how I got my first jobs, how I did my boot camps. So basically, I got started. I did a boot camp when I was about 18. I first did a program that was sort of like this, but not really. It was at an art school, and so it was like graphic design mixed with web development, like webmasters were a thing then. So it's sort of like doing everything. So we learned Photoshop, we learned Flash, and then we also learned HTML. So I did that program. It took me like a year to complete it. When I got done with it, I couldn't really get a job. For one thing, I was like 19, so just that, like nobody wanted to hire me. And I didn't really know that much anyway. So then I went back to another school and I took some classes in PHP and MySQL. Also took a creative typography class, which was pretty neat. The guy who taught it could draw like any typeface on the board, just freehand. So thought that was pretty neat. So got out, still sort of had trouble finding jobs. I had a few friends then who were also interested in web development and programming, also 3D modeling. So we got like freelance clients and we worked together on the freelance clients, kind of like what Jonathan's doing, I guess, with Fulton sort of thing. Probably a little bit lower level than where you're at now, actually.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's funny.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. I'll just look at this. Toot.
Yeah. We're talking about
Okay, so yeah. So we started out. We got some freelance contracts, mostly through my friend's dad's business. He had a big architecture business, so we started out doing so. Okay, this doesn't like.
No.
Okay, distract anybody or anything. Okay, good. Okay, so yeah, so we did that. Had some middling kind of success. I got a few web development jobs, freelance, that I did on my own for like musicians, small businesses, stuff like that. You know, got paid a little bit of money, got a little bit of portfolio stuff from that, so that was good. And like this whole time I had been talking to some recruiters. It wasn't really working out, but I wasn't really talking to them, and that's what I noticed. Because I thought for you guys, I thought, what was it that actually made it work for me, that got me a job? And it was really just, I think, what it came down to is really just reaching out to people and getting that human element, I think, is really what worked for me. What I found was one day I just decided, like, okay, I've got to really kind of knuckle down and figure out about getting jobs. So I looked through my email. I knew there were some people that had contacted me I didn't get back to. So I just got back to one of them who had gotten in touch with me like a month before. Her name was Tiffany. So I just called her up. I was like, hey, Tiffany, you sent me an email like a month ago. I know that was a month ago, but I just wanted to make myself available. I'm looking for a job. I know you probably have stuff. She said, yeah, well, sure. Why don't you just come in for an interview and we can go from there. I don't know where we'd place you now, but just we always need people. So come in for an interview. So I did. I put on a suit and tie. I went in for an interview. They were like, okay, well, it's nice to meet you. We have all kinds of jobs, blah, blah. They sat me down. They talked to me for a while. Most recruiters will do that for you guys too. They will bring you into their office for an interview and just talk to you and see what you want. This will be great experience for you. So yeah, so they interviewed me. They sat me down. They talked to me. I had my suit and tie on. And we just talked for a while. I told them that I'd been through this, all the training that I'd done and stuff and the freelance projects that I'd done. They said, okay, we can probably find you something. And then, so then one of them called me once and she had a project with a creative company who I ended up actually working with later called AKQA. They're like Sapient. They're one of the big interactive design companies, like the third largest, I think, in the world. So then like her, I guess, manager pushed back on her and she said, hey, wait, maybe this guy doesn't have quite enough experience that they're looking for. Let's not like do that. So they said, oh yeah, actually, we're not going to submit you to them. So I was kind of bummed out about that, but I just said, okay. So I kept that relationship open. A few weeks later, they called me again. They said, okay, we have a job for you. It's going to be $23 an hour and it's doing data entry. You just have to know Flash and you'll be typing numbers from one computer system into another. So of course I didn't have a job, or I did have a job, but it was working at a natural food store then. So I was like, okay, $23 an hour. Sounds great. Like, when do I start? So, yeah, so I started, and it was just, you had to know Adobe Flash was the only thing, because they were, what it was a company that made e-learning modules to teach management skills and stuff like that. So they had these little interactive things that you'd go and click on, and there'd be like a little cheesy picture of an office, and you go and you click on the desk, and then there's like a little note somebody left you on the desk, and you click on that, and it shows you the little note. And then there's like a phone, and you click on the little phone, it'll play you the little like phone message and stuff. And from this, you're supposed to learn like business management. So yeah, so they would have their like designer, educational design people, and their designers make mock-ups of what these things are supposed to look like in Flash. And then they had like a data-driven application that had like where each of the images is going to be, like pixel by pixel, the left and top dimensions, and then like what the text is. So all of that would go into a database, and then it would get put together on the back end and re-put into this Flash, but everything had to go into a database. So I would just take the Flash things, be like, okay, here's this little piece of text. It's like 20 pixels to the left, 40 pixels down, type all that stuff in. And I just go through that like all day. But I drank like tons of coffee. I did it really, really fast. I found ways of like copying multiple things at a time, used like little on-screen rulers, other little tools people hadn't come up with before. And they basically said like, I got this job done like at least twice as quickly as anybody ever had done it before, just because I had figured out like new ways of doing things and new tools and stuff. So it was like a 2-month temp job. They didn't need me anymore. But then that staffing agency was like, okay, you did well there. You got a good recommendation. So then they put me with this other company called Into Books, which was made by a top-ranking lawyer from AOL. She actually presided over the merger between Adobe and Macromedia, if any of you guys remember that. Yeah, there used to be a company called Macromedia that owned Flash, and then Adobe bought them. They also own Fireworks and a bunch of stuff. That's why Adobe has a bunch of tools that are almost like exactly the same. If you've ever noticed that Fireworks and InDesign are almost exactly the same. That's why, because they used to be 2 different companies. But anyway, so this lawyer lady had a company called Into Books that she had made for her daughter's classroom, which is just like a pen pal program in the classroom. And then she said, oh yeah, maybe I can make this into a tech company. It started out just being like a regular letter thing through the regular mail. And then she said, oh yeah, maybe I can make this a tech company because I'm an AOL lawyer, so I'll just bring in tech people to do it. So they were trying to make this like pen pal program into a tech company, and it was really weird because no one really knew what they were doing and stuff. So they kind of needed me because they had no idea what they were doing. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I can help you guys like making graphics or HTML or whatever. So they just really had no idea what they were doing, and they needed somebody like me. So I worked there for like a year. They eventually ended up moving way far out to Virginia, so I didn't want to work there anymore. Then that same staffing agency ended up getting me another full-time salaried job with a company that one of the recruiters who used to work there was moving to. And they were just like, well, we can just kind of do this for you as a favor. We're not really making money off it, but it's doing a favor for this lady who used to work here and stuff. So we'll just like place you there. So that's how I got my third job, was also through them. So basically like the first almost 2 years of my employment happened for me just because I decided to pick up the phone and call this one recruiter. Now that I think about it, I never really thought about it before until I think about it now. And it really was the human element of kind of just like sitting down with her. I found out that she had gone to a Christian college somewhere in rural Pennsylvania, and then she moved to DC, and she was kind of having fun just with her like group of friends that she had in DC, and she was learning to do stand-up comedy and all this stuff. So, I mean, I guess the takeaway here is get human with people, like create that connection, you know what I mean? Find out what people are up to. These recruiters, they all have lives and interests and stuff too. Find out what they are, because it will help you. So yeah, so that was how I got my first 2 years of employment. After that, you pretty much have a demonstrated track record. So going forward, it's a lot easier. And it's just a matter of calling people. Not all jobs that I've applied for have worked out. Some of them just weren't a good fit. Some of them I really wasn't qualified for. I didn't know enough. I went to interview with Yahoo in California when I was like 2 years in, when I was working for that first company as a front-end developer, when I had like a 1.5 years of experience. I thought like I had been reading a bunch of stuff online about Yahoo. Yahoo was really big then. It was the tech field was kind of different, and Yahoo was like a big player in the JavaScript world back then. So I was interested in working with them. I went and applied online with their HR. They called me back. They asked me some questions. Why was I interested in working there? I talked to them. Then they gave me like a tech screen. And then the one guy who I talked to was in LA. And he was like, yeah, well, it sounds like you know a lot of CSS and then like some JavaScript. So I think we just need people, and I think they'll hire you. So I'll get you out here for like an interview. And then he asked me, well, would you like to work in LA or in Silicon Valley? And had I said LA, I now realize I probably would have gotten hired. I said, no, I want to work in Silicon Valley. So they sent me to Silicon Valley. The team there was a lot more like advanced, and I didn't really fit in there as well. So, but I got to go out to California. They paid for my hotel. They paid for my rental car. It was like basically a whole weekend I got to spend in the Bay Area with a rental car and hotels and stuff like that. So it was nice. You know what I mean? I'm not like sorry that I did that. This is something you guys can find. If you go online and target like 5 or 6 big tech companies in Silicon Valley, I bet at least one of them will fly you out there for an interview. Because that's just how it works. They have a certain amount of budget they use to fly people out there and stuff. So it will happen for you. If you try enough, if you try like 5 of them, one of them probably will do it. Even if you only have like a year of experience or less. And all of you guys should be able to make your resume say that you have like a year of experience by now. Somehow, whether you worked on a website like a year ago and then did this or something, somehow you can make that fit together, I'm guessing. Or not. I mean, if not, then maybe just, you know, give it some more time. But I think that, I mean, who had done websites before they came in here? Most of you guys had done stuff, right? Do all of you guys have at least one project you could point to, or a website you tried to help a friend with, or something? No? Nothing?
Well, I would, Moppy's gonna love this, but I would always bark at our marketing people.
Okay.
Take the picture of the girl in the bikini down.
Okay, so how could you phrase that in a resume-friendly way?
People didn't want to take photos.
No, there were scantily clad women on our website.
And
I thought, okay, that's not appropriate for corporate America. We have to be ambiguous.
Okay.
Carl Jr.
I'm always like, I'm never on these teams that actually take risks. I'm always with the safe.
They're a lot older than you, huh?
Huh?
The people you work with are a lot older than you.
It's also the
No,
industry.
it's just the industries. Even though I've.
Moppy, I found it amazing.
Oh, thank you. No, but it's just, it sucks to see all these like marketing people accomplish amazing campaigns. And I'm here thinking like AT&T gives me $700 to pay for a huge influencer. Are you kidding me?
Okay, so how can we help Jackie out with her resume? If we were going to say,
I'm not here to play games. Mama started a company.
are you? So you're not going to go to Minnesota anymore?
Excuse me?
You're not going to Minnesota?
No,
Minnesota, don't you know?
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, I'm not doing that because it hits too close to home to CVent, if you're familiar with them. And the CTO was actually the one that told me to come and learn how to code because of my skill set that I already have. And the customer that wants to hire me, she wanted me to build her a registration site, which is what CVent does. And I thought that was inappropriate. That was just bad business, especially because I'll probably call Pete Phillips for guidance and advice.
Okay.
And I need their APIs.
Got it. So you don't need a resume. So let's find somebody who needs a resume. Who wants to volunteer? Somebody, anybody? Okay. Lucas. All right. So what are we putting on your resume, Lucas? You don't know.
Rooting for Argentina.
Bilingual.
Okay. No, well, rooting for Argentina, soccer fan, these are all good things that you guys want to put, your hobbies, your interests. These are all things that help distinguish you. So yeah, like if you watch soccer, put that. Yeah, I like soccer. I watch soccer. Nothing wrong with that. That's only going to help. That's good. What about jobs? Like what do you do? What do you do now?
I work at Olive Garden.
At Olive, you're a server at Olive Garden. Okay. I mean, that's a starting point. That's better than nothing. How long have you worked there for? A little over a year. So that's good. You should put that then. It's been over a year. You want to at least show that you can keep a job for a year. That's something. I mean, that's something. So that's good. So what about websites? Have you ever tried to help someone with a website or something before you came?
Before the course, but yeah.
Okay. So okay. So you've been working with somebody on a website for the course? Okay. So could you put that on your, what kind of business is it?
It's artist.
Okay. That's good.
I curator, and he asked me to make a website.
Oh, okay, to show the art. Okay, and you have the URL and everything you can put in?
Okay.
Yeah, so then that's great. Just put that on your resume, put this art gallery or whatever, made their website. That's a great start. What else?
He works well, collaborates well with others.
Team player.
Team player.
Yeah.
Team
Listen,
player.
Active listener.
I mean, those are transferable
Deep-
skills
deep
from all
other-
gardens,
yeah.
for sure.
Patience.
Yeah.
I would assume.
Yeah. So we can talk. I mean, I know we have HR people to go over this stuff with you first, but have you guys reviewed the different types of resumes? There are what are called functional resumes, for instance, which are for people with very little work experience, where it's mostly focused on your skill set opposed to your experience. So this is how I got started out. Not everyone likes these, but it might be a good way to go for you guys. Functional resume focuses on your skills and experience rather than on your chronological work history. So instead of just listing where you've worked, you put the focus on the skills and experience.
That's like the templates that they gave us from the
Similar.
Yeah, so they probably would have recommended the same thing. It's going to say the same stuff. Mostly when you look at tech resumes, you just find like word salad where everybody's trying to basically optimize for the search terms that people type in, and they'll just have like a bunch of 3-letter acronyms thrown together. I disqualified a lot of people based on their resumes, especially grammar. Like there were some resumes where I was supposed to interview a person and I just read their thing and I was like, there are like 5 grammatical mistakes in this resume. Like, I'm good. Like, figure out, you know what I mean? It's like, if you don't speak English or you know, English is not your first language, fine, but get somebody to proofread your resume or something. It's like, so that's one big thing. Also, try not to be like cliche, if that makes sense. Try to avoid saying things that people always say, like cloud computing, stuff like that. Cloud computing. Or, you know, data science. I don't know, just like the umbrella term. Be specific about what you do. Don't emphasize the boot camp too heavily, because people tend to hate on boot camps. I mean, a lot of boot camps aren't as good as this one even, or like a lot worse than this one. And some of the people that graduate from boot camps just really don't even know their own names. They know nothing. So yeah, so the boot camp is good, but focus more on the skills that you got in the boot camp. Like if you're talking about the skills, just pretend like, hey, you learned like React and Ajax and jQuery and all this stuff, and you're just passionate about it, and you went and learned about it. Oh yeah, and by the way, I did this little boot camp over here. But look, I know React, I know Node, I know blah, 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 blah. And like, you know, all that just because of how smart you are. That's the kind of way you want to approach it. Because if you say like, I did a full stack development boot camp and I'm a full stack developer now, they'll be like, no, you were in that thing for 6 months. I've taken years learning Node and jQuery and blah, blah, blah. So don't like try to play down the boot camp. Say like the boot camp was good. Say that we really liked it. We got to learn about problem solving. Dan, I spoke to Dan's boss before he hired him, and he said that he was really impressed that he talked about architecture. He found that really impressive. So if you get into talking about like visualizing the way the systems work together, the way the architecture works, I think all of that will be really good and support you guys. Any questions?
So how should we list our skills? Like just as bullet points so that it's easier for recruiters to go through, or should we actually have full sentences?
I would say full sentences. You mean anything at this point, anything that makes you look better is good, including writing well. I mean, so if you have well-structured, well-written sentences, I think that's only going to be a plus.
A lot of these, what the recruiter told me, a lot of the resumes go through a machine, but it's not like you just can throw words at it. It has to make sense so you get a higher score.
Yeah.
And then it will get to the person, to HR. But they get so many resumes that they don't read all of them. You just have a computer and go through them, but you cannot just write words.
Because I have,
they have, you know.
I have the skills listed, but then like when I highlight certain projects, I write about the projects and the technologies used in the project.
Right.
Yeah, but they said, you know, everybody, there were people even writing and putting it on white font just to have like.
Oh God.
A lot of.
Yeah, a lot of work. Yeah, people do that.
And that was the technology where you cannot word that way.
Yeah.
You have to actually have skills that that are well written and result oriented on what you write.
Yeah, there's a lot of garbage out there that I don't even know like why you would make a resume even and try to get like a web development job when you're clearly not qualified or don't know anything close to that. But people do. Lots of people do it, so they have to filter those people out. The best way to get around that is form a good working relationship with recruiters. That's why companies work with recruiters, so they don't have to sift through all these mountains of useless resumes. So that's the recruiter's job to do it for them. So reach out to the recruiters, find the recruiters. You don't have to wait for them to go and find your resume. You can just call them and say, hi, I'm so-and-so. I just finished doing a coding boot camp. I'm looking for a job. I'm sure they'll be more than happy to talk to you guys. You'll get a better idea of what's out there now, what's available, you know, how to sort of talk the jargon, all of that. You learn a lot from talking to recruiters. They'll usually be pretty willing to spend their time talking to you. So that's really the best thing that I'm going to recommend for you guys. And some recruiters are not that good at what they do. They just, it's like a numbers game to them. They figure like if they just go through enough people, eventually they'll get one that matches and that's it. Some recruiters are way more people oriented and they really know the technologies and they know the people and stuff. So that's what you want to look for. You want to look for the good ones that understand the technologies, they understand the market, they understand the people. So yeah, you look for the ones that seem sharp that you can talk to and start talking to them. And that's really going to be the best way to start looking for jobs and getting jobs because they get paid when you get paid. So it's in their interest to help you find jobs too. And when they see you guys, they see you're sharp, they see you're a person that they can actually get working, they're going to want to work with you to get you placed somewhere because there is a limited number of people that are smart, that are good with computers, that can do this stuff. And there are a lot of jobs out there for them. And every person they place is money in their pocket. So they want to get as many people in as possible.
If that they know personally the recruiters what they want, like the company.
Yeah, they know.
Like if this person is very hard and they don't have zero patience, and if they interview, like they know if you work well with that company.
Yeah, and a lot of times they'll tell you what they're looking for. They'll say, hey, this company, they really like SaaS or something. You know what I mean? So make sure you study SaaS before you go in there, and you guys can do that. You can just go and look up SaaS. It's not that hard. You have enough base information that you can learn that pretty quickly and go in and talk to them about it, you know, but they'll be sort of an extra layer of protection where they'll tell you basically what you need to do. They'll help you to get ready because it's in their interest to see you get employed.
My brother does something similar along those lines because he works in IT and networking specifically, and he's been trying to apply for jobs in Canada. That's a long story in itself. But you basically look for the job.
USA.
He'll look for job positions that match as closely as possible to what he's actually looking for, and sometimes you'll see some of them that require certain skills that he doesn't possess. So he'll still apply, and if he gets an interview, he'll say, "Oh yeah, I know this," but he's realistically trying to keep in mind how well can you learn the material in a short time.
Yeah, always do that, guys. Like, be honest. Don't like lie about stuff. But if it's if it's gonna get you the interview and they say, "Oh yeah, we need this one other thing," just be like, "Yeah, I can do that." You know what I mean? Or if it's something like if it's like Java enterprise application development, maybe not. But you know what I mean? If it's like SaaS and you already know less, then yeah, just say you know it. Or, you know, or at least learn to like gauge the person because there's a certain kind of person that's intelligent enough that you can actually be like, oh, well, I don't know less, but I know SaaS, so I can just easily pick up less. Like some people will be like, oh, yeah, sure, that sounds reasonable, fine. And other people will be like, no, we need a person who rates themselves at least an 8 out of 10 with SaaS or something, you know, because that's the way they think about things. Actually, if you ever talk to a recruiter who asks you to rate yourself 1 to 10 on more than like 2 or 3 things, probably a waste of time. I usually always hung up on those people because it's not really like, it's just a ridiculous thing. Like I could go through and say, yeah, I'm a 10 out of 10 on every one of the 10 things that you're asking me about when I've never heard of any of them. You know, I mean, it just seems pretty pointless. So, Mappy, what questions do you have about recruiters? Help me out here.
I guess so. The one thing is that the career director of Trilogy, one of the pieces of advice that she gave us is just to like apply for any junior roles or any internships, you know, because we're adults and we already have a career. She doesn't want us to lessen us to that. But I feel, is that sound advice, considering that we've only been developing for 6 months?
No, but she told me the opposite. She told me to just like do.
But she only told you. But to all of us, she said to not do any internships and to not do any.
I mean, I think it's okay to advocate for yourself. Like Mario, he did a job interview that I helped him out with, and he said like he works as a process server or something now, I think, or so I don't know exactly what he does, but he said he makes like 65K now. So he said like I need at least like 70 going in. I saw on Glassdoor that could be like a junior developer type salary, and he told them that like when he went in. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I mean, I don't know the specifics of what happened, but that was his thing, you know what I mean? Like, hey, this is what I'm going to need from you guys to make this work. And I think that's a reasonable expectation going in. And I think he'll probably get it, if not from one company, then from another company. And he does have that, like he can say, hey, I'm a process server or whatever it is, and I make this much money now. So that's something working in his favor. You know what I mean? You already have a professional job too. So I don't think, like, I wouldn't take less money than you're making now.
Oh, no, not in terms of money. I meant in terms of title.
Oh, in terms of title, I mean, title is title. Title doesn't really matter. Yeah, as long as. No, I mean, it doesn't. Title is just a title.
Is there anything you would advise?
There are people, I mean, there are people who get senior developer roles who really aren't senior, who just, that I would advise you to what?
If there was anything specifically you would advise against us applying for, or?
I mean, it depends. I mean, it depends who you are and where you are. If you're already making 130K a year, don't take 30K a year. You know what I mean? It's not, I mean, hey, whatever works for you. You know, some of us in here are not making that much money or don't have good jobs. If somebody's going to give you a job. Yeah. So like, yeah. So like I said, when I started out, somebody said $23 an hour for me. That was like a no brainer. Like, when do I start? You know what I mean? Now if somebody tried to offer me $23 an hour, I'd probably be like, no, thanks. You know what I mean? Like, thank you, but no, thank you. Yeah, so I mean, it all depends what works for you. The important thing, I think, is at the end of the day that you're moving forward with it every day. If you're getting jobs, getting work done, that's the important thing. And you will get somewhere with this. The demand for this is great enough that if you keep going with it, like, you'll eventually get somewhere with it. Even for people that really just aren't that good at it. I've seen people that are not that good of developers, but they just keep showing up and keep getting jobs, and it works out for them. Oh, Melvin, you're a good developer.
Thank you.
Yes, and you guys have not been doing this for very long, so it's going to take some time to get your confidence. I mean, confidence, I think, is key. That's the number one thing. I mean, 80% of this is just like showing up, walking in the job interview, like not wearing your slippers or flip-flops or whatever, having your right clothes on for wherever you're going. Sometimes it'll just be like a t-shirt and jeans. Sometimes it'll be a suit. But, you know, dress the part, show up, you're 80% of the way there. Act confident, like you know what you're doing, you're like another 10% of the way there. You know what I mean? And then you're 90% of the way there. That just leaves like this much that you have to do. That's your actual coding knowledge. And that's really the way this works. It's like 10% of it is your actual coding knowledge, about 10% is your confidence, and like 80% is that you showed up in the right clothes. Seriously, it sounds funny, but it's absolutely true, I promise. And that you don't smell. Yeah, breath mints.
But there were game developers I've worked with who showering was optional.
I love how you said that. Showering was optional.
Everyone in the company knew that, so we would just avoid that area.
Yeah, it's kind of tough being a woman, I guess, in a room with like 8 smelly guys into this game.
There was only one girl on the team too. Like, all of them were male game developers.
I mean, you could just not shower too, I guess. Beat them at their own game. Yeah, wear one of those Christmas trees around your neck. I wonder if they'd get the point. Hi, guys.
No, I don't know. I don't think she minds.
Wait, is that why she walked out? She's like, it's an air freshener. Anywho. Yeah, beside, what was the question though?
Yeah, just like if her advice was sound advice.
Oh yeah, I mean, do whatever gets you through the day. The important thing is that you're doing a little bit better than you were yesterday, so just keep like progressing. I'd say that's the important thing. So if you're taking a job means that you're like backtracking, then probably don't do it. And that's the important thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, because I've been avoiding junior roles just because that was her advice, but I'm just thinking that's not gonna get me.
And the junior roles appeal to you in any way when you look at this? Or no?
There is this one junior role that has appealed to me, so I'm going to write a cover letter for that. But I haven't seen that many in the area that I'm moving to. So
yeah, I mean, it also depends on your style, I would say. Like, if you're the type of person that can work your way up, then that's good. Because there's a certain type of person that will work their way up within like a system. Like, for example, when I worked at Discovery Channel, I worked with a girl who had started out. She was working for this film festival thing that Discovery Channel partnered with. And then she got like a job as like an assistant at Discovery Channel, just basically being like a gopher, going and figuring out what people wanted. But, you know, she had a college degree and everything. She was smart. She's now like the director of digital communications for Discovery Channel. Just because she was smart and she worked her way up, she knew how to talk to the managers and stuff. You know what I mean? So that was her like strength, and that's what she was good at. So for her, it made total sense to start out as an assistant, and she worked her way up to director in like maybe 6 years.
What did she do about her salary though? Because sometimes when you stay within a company, you're kind of capped with your salary.
Yeah, I mean, I think that might have happened.
But then after having that experience as director, she can go to another company.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they probably gave her the title and less money, I would say, because she got the title so quickly. Then maybe she didn't get all the money, but it's still good for her. And like you said, she can go to another company. Yeah, and like they need good people is the thing. If you are smart and you have a college degree and they're working, like they're gonna kind of know that they need you. After a while, they'll be like, yeah, we need you here. We're gonna give you what you're worth. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's a part of it too. So it's just like putting that work in. Some people just want to show up and be like, hey, I'm already like a smart programmer, pay me a senior programmer salary. And that works for them because they're able to pull it off, and they'll be like, yeah, we need a guy who's smart, who can code. Sure, you've got like 3 years experience. We'll bring you in as a senior developer. But then those are the people that usually tend to not go up as much. You know what I mean? Because they don't really want to work with people and like work their way up.
How do you find a good I just forgot what you guys call it, the recruiter.
Yeah, so a few ways you can do that. Meetups are a good way to find recruiters. I mean, a lot of times they'll reach out to you. That's usually like they'll reach out to you, and then you go weed through them and find the ones that seem like professional and seem like they actually know the industry and they're not just playing a numbers game. That's what you want to really watch out for, is the kinds of recruiters that are just playing the numbers game, where they just figure if they rope in enough people and maybe 1 in 100 they'll get through or something. Those are the ones that are really going to waste your time. The ones that understand the nuances of the industry and understand really like the ins and outs of it are the ones that are going to be most likely to get you the roles you want. Does that make sense to everyone?
You should also find that if you have a company that you want to work with, they usually work with one recruiter, and like they have that one contact in that company, and they trust that recruiter.
Yeah.
Like they're
and that can be a hard thing to find, because a lot of times companies won't just contract with one recruiting firm. They'll contract with like 3 or 4. So when you hear about one job from a recruiter, there might be 3 or 4 other recruiters out there working for other companies that are also trying to get someone in there for that one job. So that, I mean, it can take a while to find jobs because of that, because there are a lot of people trying to staff for them. And that's why it's very important to make yourself stand out from the crowd. So you're going to have a whole bunch of resumes that are going to say web developer, front-end developer, back-end developer, full-stack developer, node developer, every kind of developer, engineer, blah, blah, blah. So like you got to think, how do you make yourself stand out from that crowd of them? What do you do to make yourself seem smarter, to seem like a person that you want to work with? You know, and that answer isn't going to be the same for all of you. It's whatever is true for you that works. Like you asked me this question, I think, Martha, right? What is it? Well, you asked me a question like, what is it that makes me stand out, or what is it that I like about software development? You don't remember asking me this like a few? Okay. But basically, you guys are all going to have to think about, what is it with you that makes you passionate about working in this industry? Why are you the developer out of all the hundreds of resumes that I have on my desk? Why are you the developer that I'm going to want working for me? Right? So maybe you won't think of the answer to this question right now, but ask yourself that question. Why is it that people are going to want me working for them instead of someone else? Why is it that I'm passionate about web development? What brought all of you guys in here? You guys all had an answer on the first day of class when I asked you, what is it that makes you think you will be a stellar full stack web developer? Remember that? What did you guys say?
Or data inefficiencies, and I wanted to get into VR.
That's a great answer. So you could say that. Like, Yeah, and actually tell that as a story. Yamil, when he gave his presentation, I don't know if any of you noticed it, but he told it as a story. When you do that, it becomes a very, very powerful tool because our minds naturally go to the way a story works. If you think about it, all stories have conflict, all stories have resolution, all stories have a certain thing. And we naturally identify with that as people. We see, oh, you had a problem and you overcame it. Like, I can relate to that because I had some problem and then I overcame it too. So if you tell that story, yeah, I worked in a doctor's office and we had all these inefficiencies, the way we filed things made no sense, and I just hated it and I wanted to find more efficient ways of doing things, and that's why I got into this industry. That's a really strong pull. Do you see that? Because people will say, oh yeah, I relate to your story. Like, you had to deal with that story. And then if you have a happy ending to it, like I was able to go to full stack web development boot camp and make a new software thing, and now we, save all this time or something, then that's even better. Do you see what I mean?
Yes, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So that would be a great happy ending for it. But yeah, whatever you can do to pull people into your story, to sort of humanize yourself, to get people interested in you and what you're up to, that's going to be huge. And the thing is, most hiring managers did not go to school to be hiring managers. They did not go to school to interview developers. This is like an afterthought, right? They got hired to work in websites or to be developers. And then they said, oh, by the way, we're going to need more people to work with us. Do you think you can just figure out which people we're going to hire and all of that? And they're like, yeah, sure. Usually, traditionally, people have to go to college for that. They have to learn all this stuff. These people have no training, no experience with this stuff. They're pretty much just winging it. So that's one very important thing to keep in mind when you're doing the interviews, is the people that you're interviewing with really have no idea what they're doing. They may have some idea about what makes websites work. They have no idea how to interview people. They have no idea about, human resources. Yeah. Do you want to ask a question?
Tack on to a tangent, because again with my brother. Because he at one point had another job being paid well, but he realized that the company doesn't know what they're doing in tech. Mm-hmm. And he realized it was like a house of cards, better get up. So he was tasked with finding someone else to fill his spot. Uh-huh. And he was telling me and my father, throughout that process of trying to find somebody, interviewing people and realizing what this position actually required, it helped it put things into better perspective, both into what he wanted to do moving forward outside of that company, as well as what both that position and this industry requires, what it entails. Mm-hmm. Stuff that kind of broaden the scope a little bit.
Right. Yeah. And that's common too. People will hire somebody and not even really know what they need. They'll just be like, yeah, we need somebody to work on our website. And then, you'll bring up something SQL. Oh yeah, we need that. HTML, we need that. And that's why so many job descriptions really are just like word salad. We need somebody who knows C and HTML and, InDesign and, and also C.
It's like, it didn't exist 10 years ago. What are you talking about?
Yeah, so that's why that happens, is because the people who write these things have no idea what they're doing. They're just, everybody's trying to get through it as best they can, and very few people really have that much of an idea of what they're doing. So it's something to keep in mind, because when you do know that, it makes it sort of easier. It makes it a little less nerve-wracking. It makes you seem like a little bit less of an imposter, right? When you know that everybody is sort of just winging it. What other questions do we have?
You see that we are junior developers?
Yes.
Or we something else or more experience to actually go also?
That's the thing. There's no real standard. Yeah, there's no definition for that. There's no national government agency that says, once you've worked 4 years as a web developer, you can now say you're a mid-level developer or something. That doesn't exist. You're a senior developer when you say you're a senior developer. So do you think you have the skills and expertise? It's basically like, can you own being a senior developer? Can you walk into an interview and say, yes, I'm a senior developer. I do senior level work, hand them your resume, answer questions about it, and talk at a senior level. That's pretty much all there is to it. There's nothing else you're going to need. There's no degree that says you're a senior developer. There's no real certificate that says you're a senior developer. You can get the skills and experience and references that say you're a senior developer. And you can also pretty much just put on your resume, senior developer, walk into a job interview, answer senior developer questions, and then you're a senior developer. So it's It's just really your level of comfortability with that. It's all about how comfortable you feel. Do you feel like an imposter saying that you're a full stack developer, senior full stack developer? So then you're probably not ready to say that yet. And that's okay, because you will be.
No, but I also feel the same for the junior. Because for the junior, the job is asking a lot of skills that we, at least I don't know.
Well, maybe you're not.
Maybe for a junior, 2 years of experience in React.
Okay, so do you have? Right. So, yeah. So, first of all, it's important to know that everyone in this industry is winging it, right? Now, there's no one who is like an official web developer. That's not a thing. It's all people who've gotten into this who didn't know what they were doing and slowly like figured out what they were doing on the job. That's basically all it is. You can't learn this stuff really in a boot camp. This is a better boot camp, I think, than most. You guys took away like a lot of knowledge. Most people leave boot camps knowing like nothing. You really can't learn this stuff in a boot camp. The stuff that you guys did learn here in this boot camp, you pretty much learned yourself. You learned it yourselves by doing it. You learned it yourselves by Googling things, etc. So in terms of time period, it's not a thing. People will say, oh, we need a developer who has been doing PHP for at least 3 years and CSS for at least 2 years. And if those time frames are exactly right, then we'll have what we need and there'll be no problems and everything's fine. We all know in reality, is it like that? If I have a developer who's been doing PHP for exactly 3 years and CSS for 2 years, will my website get done? No. Right. Yeah. I could get somebody who's been doing it for 6 months and they'll get the job done and do it just as well. So people put things in these terms, rate yourself from a 1 to 5 or a 1 to 10 on this one thing, or rate yourself in terms of how long you'll be doing it. These things are really pretty meaningless. And you have to realize that when you walk in there, it's like either you'll have the knowledge and expertise to help them out with what they're doing, or you'll be able to learn it and figure it out and it'll be a productive win-win, or it's not going to work out. Right? And it's up to you to figure out if that's true. Are you going to be able to work here at this company? Are you going to be able to help them? Is it going to be a productive win-win, or is it not going to work out? Are you going to be lost? So that's the question that you need to ask yourself, not how do you rate this thing on a 1 to 5, or like how many years have you been doing it for? Jonathan, what do you have? You've been quiet, finding jobs, talking to recruiters.
He's looking for gifts.
Right now?
Do you have any recruiter gifts?
Right now?
What are you up to there?
Right now?
Yeah.
I'm working on a little app that inspired, like the class inspired me. I'm trying to figure out how to run like virtualized node instances on the web. So like I give it a GitHub repo, like one of their CLI apps, and it's able to run on.
Oh, from another node project?
Like on the it's something like that, and it's almost working.
Oh yeah, you could just spin it up as another process. Did you use cluster?
No, I'm using processes.
Oh yeah.
Child processes. I'm trying to run it within that.
Yeah, you should be able to just fork off another process and do all that, but you got to pull in the dependencies. That's the hard part.
Yeah, I have all that working.
Oh really? Mm-hmm. Neat. Okay, what other questions do we have about recruiters, guys? Okay, Abel. Okay, ladies first.
Okay. So I mentioned in Slack a little bit about like security, because I've been like being approached for freelance stuff, and there's some things that I'm just like, well, I could figure this out, but I'm just like, how do I make sure their website's gonna be secure?
Yeah, take a security tutorial. That's like the best thing, and it'll walk you through all of it. But we'll get after I answer his question, I'll come back to that. We can talk about the different types of threats and stuff.
What worries me is the technical interview.
What kind of interview? Oh, it's technical interview, yeah.
Which is like very open, very open, and sometimes maybe there is a problem that you can solve looking on searching on Google very easily, but sometimes you can't figure it out at that moment because it's difficult.
No, you should. So it's dishonest to look something up on Google. I wouldn't do it. When you're entering into a technical interview, the expectation is that you're going to be answering those questions from your own expertise. So, I've disqualified candidates. We had one woman who was basically like every question she would be, oh wait, I can't hear you. You repeat the question? And I was on the phone with my boss. We were on a conference call and he was like, Jonathan, can you hear me? I was like, yeah, I can hear you fine. And it was just obvious that she was saying she couldn't hear the question, so she would have a little bit more time to go and type it into Google and find the answer. So we were just like, we saw that and we just like cut the interview short and we're just like, yeah, we're done. You know what I mean? We're not gonna, because you're dishonest with us. We can't have that. You know what I mean? So when you go into a technical screen, yeah, the expectation is that you're speaking from your own knowledge and experience, not from the stuff that you're finding.
And now I feel that those screenings will probably be done with video cameras.
Yeah, well, that's why we wanted to do it with the video chat so that we could be sure they weren't doing it. Also, I had another guy who I'm pretty sure was not the same guy. Like, yeah, so we had a guy who passed the job interview and stuff. We passed the technical screen, brought him into work there, and then the boss said, yeah, this is not the same guy like I talked to. So, and he struggled, so we let him go like 2 weeks later. But he's just basically, I guess he just paid some other guy to take the technical screen for him.
I've joked about that, but never seriously. I didn't actually think people would try to get away with that.
Yeah, oh yeah, they try to get away with pretty much everything. It's crazy.
What's funny is I feel like as a woman, I feel like I have trouble finding somebody to do the screening for me. Like,
my older sister and I opened up
a smaller pool.
Yeah, so get your own knowledge and expertise. I mean, you know, if you don't know something, there's no shame in that. Like, you guys should never be ashamed of saying, oh, I don't know this thing. Don't make it into like a judgment on yourself. You know what I mean? It's like either you've learned this stuff yet or you haven't. You guys have all been working hard in here to get this knowledge. Like if there's something that you happen to not know yet, that's fine. Just like let it go. Don't put any judgment on that thing. They probably won't put any judgment on it either. Like if you get one question wrong, they'll probably, you know, let it go. Or like there's some interviews that I felt like I should have gotten where they just didn't agree with my answer or something. And then there'd be other people that did agree with the answer. So that's a thing too, you know, but basically like wherever you are now with this stuff is okay. And go into the interview with that mindset. Don't think about it like, oh no, I don't know if I can get it. I think I'm just an imposter. Be like, no, I've been working hard at this. I'm doing fine. Like if they want me, they want me. If not, okay. And there's enough jobs out there that somebody's going to want you if you keep going with this stuff. Okay, guys. Questions, fears, hopes, dreams?
So many, but too many.
Okay, so your homework is think about this. What makes you passionate about this industry? Why do you want to work here? What makes you different than that huge stack of resumes out there?
We're not presenting this answer, are we?
No, this answer is for you. You're going to present this answer in every job interview you ever go to for the rest of your life.
Got
it. Only that. Okay.
Thank you.
Great job, guys. See you Tuesday. And since we don't have a lot of time for projects, start working on projects now because we may not have as much time as we'd like. I'm going to talk to Siobhan to find out the exact timing, but yeah, get started now if you can. That would be my advice. No, we're doing computer science next week. Algorithms and stuff.
Most recent React homework. One particular project isn't working, and I don't know why, but I need something to submit. So I had to put it in Roku. I was trying to do last night, and it wasn't working. It was late. I figured come here and ask for help. Sure.
Wow. I sent her some stuff to review, but it sucks because she said something that reminded me of what my boss told me. My boss was like, oh, you're too out there to be behind
You mind if I show you the error that makes it before I try to find it?
She was basically doing the same thing yesterday, and it's only done then
And in
after
general,
the
databases, you need to have it running from within the project. So like,
you don't want to be a product manager, trust me.
She was like,
Like if you're doing git pull, she said that there might be like some you need to do the same thing for, you know? Okay, I didn't think so, but
yeah, no, I would get your coding time in there so that people will know you're like a legit coder, and then you could go to being like a product manager or something once you've proven yourself.
Like for dinner.
I know, the thing is that
Part of my
we're
dinner.
at this time.
Hydrogenated oil, high fructose corn syrup, young man.
The best part.
Huh?
That
The best part.
industry